excavation bids.
The couple contractors that had called me about that hope, they wanted to kind of hope we would hold off until the snow was gone. And kind of maybe mark the road a little bit better as far as the links and where the culverts go.
Okay. Why don't you help me with this? I'm going to open all 4 bids that we have, and I assume they are all for Airport Road. Trade, yeah. Sarah, you're going to help too, huh?
Whatever you need.
Okay. Get them open and then alphabetically.
Yeah.
Alphabetically.
You're in charge. There are more chairs. We can avail them as long as we leave a place to walk to and fro here. I don't think we're going to have a fire or anything, but we're not sure.
Who's this? Dana Dolan?
Payne and Dolan. Okay. So do you want to help me read them?
Okay.
Let's start with this one.
Okay.
This is a bid from Payne and Dolan. We are, just for your information, we are bidding work done on Airport Road. We have split Airport Road into 2 parts, and there's also some culvert and wedging work on these bids, so.
Do you want all the detail, or do you want the totals?
Well, why don't we start with some of the basic details and then go to the totals? Because we have
A lot of details.
summaries, right?
Okay. Airport Road from Newville Road to I-94 Bridge. Pulverized and shaped roadway, $22,900. Place 3 inches of stone base to roadways and shoulders, $52,500. Furnish and install 2 1/4 inch type 3LT PG 58-28S asphalt binder, $144,270. Furnish and install, I'll leave the specs out this time, asphalt surface including tack coat, $118,980. Furnish and install 2-foot wide stone shoulders on both sides of roadway, $20,700, for a total of $359,350.
That's the entire length of the road.
That is from Newville to
359,
I-94 Bridge.
And this is the Payne and Dolan bid.
Yes.
All right.
They also bid from Newville to Cool Road.
Okay, wait.
359, 350.
Okay.
Pulverize and shape, 10.6. Stone base to roadway and shoulders, 31.5. Asphalt binder, 79.5. Asphalt surface including tack coat, $65,780. And 2-foot wide stone shoulders on both sides, $12,650, for a total of $230,030.
Say it again.
$230,030.
All right.
Okay, then we have some culvert settlement bids as
All
well.
right.
Bridle Path, 5,400.
Wait now. Okay.
Polo Lane, 6,100. Fayetteville Road, 7,500. Hope Lake Road, 5,600.
Okay.
And we have another one that is on the same type of, here, this one's on the same bid form. This is Tri-County Paving,
Okay.
so you can compare exactly here. Pulverize and shape the roadway, $18,869.60. The stone base to roadway and shoulders, $56,140. The asphalt binder, $145,071.50. $145,071.50.
Okay,
The surface, including tack coat, $117,234. And the shoulders, $18,000. Total is $355, $315, and 10 cents. $355,315.10.
okay.
Then they've got Newville Road to Cool Road, roadway 10,918. The stone base 33,684. The binder 83,938,075 cents. Asphalt surface, including tack coat, $67,735.20. And the shoulder's $11,000. So the total is $207,275.95.
207?
Yes. Culverts, bridle path, $3,042.68. Polo Lane, $4,888.24. Fayetteville Road, $8,230.20. Hope Lake Road, $3,042.68. Okay, then we have Scott Asphalt Cold Mix Overlay.
Okay, this is the little horse of a different color, as you recall.
So Airport Road, Newville to I-94. Option 1, 1/2 of the length, pulverized existing surface, rough grade, pulverized material, finish grade, and compact pulverized material, and furnish 2-inch mat with paver laid cold mix asphalt, $78,100. Option 2, pulverized existing surface, rough grade pulverized material, finish grade, and compact pulverized material, and furnish 2-inch mat with paver laid cold mix asphalt. I hope you know what the difference is there, because I do not. $150,000, $150,225. That's the, full length. Okay, got it. Option 3, 1/2 of the length, 1-inch scratch / leveling course, and 1.5-inch top course with paver laid cold mix asphalt, $84,375. Option 4 is the full length of that for $162,500.
160.
To 500. Okay, and then we have Wolf, which is a little bit more detail on some of the specifics, I think.
So they didn't quote it all
Here,
from
anyway.
Newville to Cool? Or the whole thing?
Newville Road to I-94 is all it says. Oh, okay, so Wolf does have the same sheet as Tri-County and Payne and Dolan. But there's some other details in here that we should read through eventually, just to see if there's any caveats there. But as far as dollars,
Okay,
pulverize, from Newville to I-94, pulverize and shape, $25,648. The stone base, $40,250. Asphalt binder, $138,430.50. The surface, including tack coat, $112,410. And the shoulders, $14,940. Total is $331,678.50. And I should point out here that they do have estimated tons or measurements too, so we should probably be looking at that too as well at some point here. Make sure that all makes sense. Airport Road from Newville to Cool, pulverize and shape, $18,020. Stone base, $26,250. Asphalt binder, $82,150. And the surface, including tack coat, $67,496. Shoulders is $10,000 or $10,076 for a total of $203,992. And then the culverts, Bridle Path, $2,500.
Wait, no. Okay,
Polo Lane, $2,500. Fayville Road, $3,500. Hope Lake Road, $2,500. So I give you the, oh, here we go. I got a couple of these too. Scott and Wolf. The liability insurance waivers.
well, if that isn't food for thought, I don't know what is.
I should sign it.
Do you have questions while they're sitting here?
Yes, are there any questions that you guys have, you want to ask the contractors? The contractors are all here. Are there any questions the
Scott's
contractors?
Construction, I was wondering on your cold roll, is that one pass or is that two passes?
I think there's two different options, so, the option one is a one pass, so it's a 2-inch mat. right
Okay,
across the
2
top.
inch, okay,
And then the option 3 and 4 are two different passes.
okay.
So it's the 1-inch overlay to level it out, and then another 1.5 inches on top of that for its final coat.
So a compressed of 3?
Yes.
With a total of how much asphalt altogether then?
Be 2.5.
2.5. All right. Any more questions you guys have? Any questions you guys have?
Is there a request for coal patch for this shop?
Yes,
There was, okay.
yes. As an option, looking at all things. Okay, so as we proceed forward, here's our plan. We are in a very different situation than we were a month ago as far as our highway budget is concerned, due to the fact we have 25, 30 inches of snow we've had to deal with. We will be discussing this at our April 16th meeting and hopefully making a decision at that time. You guys now know the details. If you would like more information or want to compare as we go forward into the next month, you can let us know. You have my numbers. We can go back over it if there are questions that you have or that we have. All right? Thank you. Appreciate all the help you've given me and for you keeping our timeline. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
And I suppose you could stay, but, you know, I'm not so sure you'd want to.
We don't get a vote.
Thank you. All right, that'll end the bid opening portion of our meeting. We will now proceed to the regular town board meeting for March 12th. We'd like to call the meeting to order. 8 p.m. or 8:15 p.m. The notice was posted at the town hall, the North End Boat Launch, and the cul-de-sac on Finch Brothers Road, and also on the town's website. Item 2 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve March agenda as printed.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the agenda as published, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The agenda is approved. Item 3, approval of the minutes.
These are hard copies of what I
Which was
emailed you.
nice. Thank you, Sarah, for emailing. I would motion to approve the monthly board minutes from our February 12th, 2019 meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes as published, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Minutes are approved as published. Thank you, Sarah.
I did bring, I forgot to put these in your packets.
And there are
the
extra
plan
copies
commission.
if any of you guys who were here need to have that or wish to read it as a point of
I
reference.
can take one now. I didn't print mine off.
Item 4, approval of the treasurer's report. I will motion to approve the March 2019 treasurer's report.
I will second it.
Is there any discussion or questions? How are we going to clear up these poll workers?
She moved out of state, so I really don't know. I sent her, well, this one, that one's taken care of, but this one, oh, and that one, I don't know. I didn't know, I don't know.
I left a message on Burr Carter, but all I could do is leave a message, and I haven't heard back.
All
from
right.
him.
And Ellen, we know she's out of town, but,
I
Okay.
did send it to her, the
Did
address
you?
that I had, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
all right, one day at a time. We have a motion on the floor, right? All in favor of approving the March 2019 treasurer's report, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Treasurer's report is approved. Approval of the general funding vouching.
I'll make a motion to approve March disbursements of $60,474.18.
I'll second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving the funding and the vouching for March, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The general funding vouching is passed. Thank you, Sharon.
I just want to say that there's just one personal property tax that hasn't paid yet, and that's Crokeville Oasis. And also a reminder, all dogs need to be licensed by March 31st. After that, there's $30 in late fees. So if you have a dog, please get it licensed.
Thank you, Sharon. Item number 6, reports, the police report. Matt?
For the month of February, I had 68 hours of road patrol, handled 7 complaints. I had a total of 26 traffic stops, 2 repair notices were issued, 19 warnings, 12 citations, 15 hours of stationary radar, 2 ordinance citations, 8 residence and business security checks, 22 park checks, and 3 extra patrols monitored. April 10th, we'll be interviewing for the position of new boat officer. We received 8 applicants, and the interviews will start at 3 p.m. for the new officers, or for one of the new officers. March 25th, we are doing a joint active shooter training drill with Lake Mills Police Department, Johns Creek Police Department, Town of Oakland Police Department at the Lake Mills Elementary School. So if you see us around, that's what's going on. We did deploy our stop sticks. I'm glad you guys bought us that for a high-speed pursuit from Wisconsin State Patrol. Last week, the officer was able to prevent that individual from getting off on 89 and entering into the township, and they continued on into Dane County, so avoiding any problems in our jurisdiction. Other than that, it's not been too bad.
Good, thank you, Matt. You guys have any questions for Matt? Any concerns? I know we've had some water issues, water ponding on the road, but that has been pretty clearly marked by our snow purveyor, and I'm kind of hoping that we have a slow meltdown and a
Get a check.
windy warm-up. How's that?
The other thing is we did also purchase, it isn't here yet, our new defib for our squad car.
I think
And our
that's-
taser did arrive also, and that is now in the squad also. So we're just waiting for the defib to show up.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And I guess another
They did
thank you
check.
is apparent here. We need to recognize the fact that you guys did the boat audit and
Oh,
got that all
that's
taken
what I was
care
just asking about. We did complete it. I haven't seen the check yet, but they wait until they get everybody's done and then they decide how much they can divvy up amongst us.
And that was an extra effort on the part of Officer
Walters?
Sergeant Walters.
Yes.
Yeah, he's in charge of it.
Ryan and Sarah both worked on that, so that was good. Appreciate the help you give us on that.
I did want to not forget to mention that the old squad car is still in the parking lot because when the new owner went to take it out of the parking lot, the shift cable broke because it was still under so much snow. So he's got it ordered. He's just asking for patience while he
Has his words.
figured out.
As the world turns.
Yeah.
For those curious minds in the audience, thank
That
you.
was more for Matt.
Worked great for me.
Well, he wasn't blaming anyone. He said he should have known.
All right, sold as is, correct?
Worked when we put it in the shed, right?
Item B, the Joint Rock Lake Committee report. Wes, you are here. You have a report?
We had to cancel our meeting.
Thank you, Wes, for your service. Item C, the Planning Commission report. Lee?
Yeah, we met on March 5th for, I believe, 9 minutes, and we discussed item, what we're coming up today on item 8A. It's the discussion decision on the application for conditional use by Keith Clark for an extensive on-site storage structure in R1 zone at W8338 Cedar Lane, and that passed 5 approved to none not approved.
I guess you guys are trying to set new speed records, huh?
Our time is up.
Does anybody want a copy of their minutes? I did print those
I'm
for you
good.
guys.
It's, yeah, it's fine.
So
All right, thanks.
that's it.
Great, thank you. Item D, other committee reports.
None.
Wow, you got a month
Hey, it was
off.
quiet.
Wow.
No disasters. Our next meeting is April, I believe.
All
April
right.
11th.
Great. Thank you, Dave, for your service on the Cambridge Fire Commission.
You're welcome.
Item 7, this is where the public comes into play. A period of public comment and questions for anything that is not on the agenda for discussion purposes only. So if there's anyone who wants to bring anything up right now, now is the time. Wow.
Quick, move on.
All right. Item 8, application reviews. A, discussion and decision on an application for conditional use by Keith Clark for extensive on-site storage structure in an R1 zone at W8338 Cedar Lane. Keith.
Good evening. My name is Keith Clark. I live in Cedar Lane, W8338. This is my wife, Jean. It was quite a bit colder here on March 5th. That's why the meeting went so fast. But we got approved, and I hope I can answer any questions. We have applied for conditional use permit to build a storage structure. It is going to be in 3 pieces. There's going to be a 2-car garage, approximately 400 square feet. There's going to be a 600 to 700 square foot library. And there's going, the balance of the structure will be for comic book storage. It's going to use, we're going to use the same materials that we're using on our house. So it'll blend right in. We're supposed to go up and if there is property, we had a meeting with him last Thursday and he didn't have any concerns with it. So if there's any questions that I could answer, I'd be happy to do that.
I get 2 questions. Like the setback from your north property line, is that 20 feet? Is that what that is?
Undetermined yet, from my neighbors.
Yes, correct.
We're going to be closer than that, probably. I'm going to let him help you decide that. Quite frankly, it would be okay with me if we move this structure 20 feet off his property line to allow for both of us to store trailers back.
Sure.
But if he doesn't want to look at that, I'm good either way.
Okay.
And he seemed very amenable to having those discussions. So.
Okay. And then the other question is, I see in your write-up here that this is all for personal use.
Yep.
So you're not going to be buying and selling comic books. So do you sell out of there then too then?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
Eventually, Well, eventually what's gonna happen is I'm gonna die and Gene's gonna have to sell it. But no, it's not a commercial business, it's a hobby.
Hopefully buy some expensive ones, right?
Yes,
She didn't argue when you said you were gonna die and she was gonna live.
she knows how this works. Seriously, are there any other questions that I can answer? Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
You bet.
Keith, thanks very much. We'll expect, Gene, that you'll get the will in order, right?
Yeah.
These are my neighbors, I know.
I don't eat mushroom soup.
Uh-oh, story. I'll make a motion to approve Keith Clark's extensive storage structure in the R1 zone at W8338 Cedar Lane.
And I will second that. Is there any discussion among the board members about this? I don't see anyone in the audience who is not happy with this either, so I guess I will call for a vote. All in favor of approving the conditional use for Keith for W8338 Cedar Lane, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you. The application for conditional use is approved by the town board, and you guys know the process. You'll be going forward to the county, and Sarah and I will make sure the signatures are in place and have that. I'm not sure when that meeting is.
We're going to be shooting for the May meeting, we're not
Yeah.
going to be around for the April.
Right.
There should be plenty of time.
Plenty of time in between.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, and appreciate your attendance. Item B, discussion and decision on application for a special event by Race Day Events for the Lake Mills Triathlon on June 2nd, 2019. This is the beginning of the good time season in Lake Mills, and I spoke with each of these applicants because I was worried about road construction. And they were very attentive and called me back immediately. They are in touch with the DOT and are looking at the progress of our downtown project. And all of these people in the next 3 items are available by phone if they need to be contacted this evening. So, we're starting with Race Day. I would motion to approve the Lake Mills Triathlon Race Day event for Sandy Beach Road on June 2nd of 19, starting at 7 a.m. and running through 12 p.m.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the Lake Mills Triathlon by Race Day Events, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The Race Day event is approved. Moving on, discussion and decision on application for a special event by the MACC Fund for the Trek 100, also featured that weekend on June 1st, 2019. This is a long-time event here in Lake Mills. It does run that Saturday, the 1st, from 7:30 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. Colleen is telling us it is the 30th annual Trek 100. Does bring a heck of a lot of traffic here to town.
Airport Road wouldn't be under construction by then, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Right.
And it's part of their route.
It is on their route, I know that.
Yep.
So they are going to stay in touch with us as we go along here. They always have the proper insurance forms and all that.
It's
It's like they're heading down Ferry Drive,
Seems to be in order.
Oh, boy.
which is going to be heavily trafficked.
It's going to be a nightmare around here. Matt, I'm hoping you're taking note of these and making sure you're
Yeah,
on
the calendar.
track here. I will make a motion to approve the MAC Fund Trek 100 on June 1st, 2019.
7:30 to 6, or 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the MAC Fund Trek 100 special event on June 1st, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Busy time. Item D, discussion and decision on operators licenses for Aaron L. Krieger, Mo's Place, Brandy M. Kraus, Krogville Oasis, and Courtney A. Bartz, Krogville Oasis. Matt, I know you've done some work on this.
I find nothing that would prevent them from having a bartender's license.
Can I ask if these are Krogville Oasis and he has delinquent personal property taxes, does that affect this or not?
I don't think, Sarah, that affects this, but
Yeah.
when they have to get their liquor licenses approved, then
Renewal.
they won't
So,
get
but it's for
that.
the establishment, not
Right,
the
yeah.
operators. Yep, okay,
The operator's licenses are separate from that.
okay.
Well, I would motion to approve the license applications for Aaron L. Kruger, Mo's Place, Brandy M. Kraus, Krogville Oasis, and Courtney A. Bartz, Krogville Oasis.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Guess we already had that. Hearing none, all in favor of approving these three licenses, operators licenses, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same side. The licenses are approved. Item 9, old business. A, public hearing on revisions to Town Ordinance 5-6, regulations of piers on Rock Lake. Long-standing hard work on this pier ordinance. It's been in front of us for the last, I don't even want to talk about it, a long time. But we are finally ready to go. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak about the pier ordinance as it is published? John, take the podium.
Hi, I'm John Schultz. I'm managing member of JCMS LLC. We're 70 acres that my sisters and I own on the north end of Rock Lake. Historically, my family has had fishing boats and sailboats and occasionally other types of boats, but mostly fishing and sailboats on the north end of Rock Lake, back at least as old as I am, and that's over 70, and that's as far as I'll go with the age. I may be a little late in the game in commenting on this. I don't really have any arguments with what I've read. It would have been helpful for me anyway to have this laid out so that the changes would have been incorporated into what I've understood to be what is going to be enacted if it's approved as such. Is that correct?
There were so many of them, it was just a pretty much complete overhaul that it seemed like this was the better way to go.
Okay. Well, as I just said a moment ago, I'm pretty good with, as an individual landowner, with what I've read, but I do have a couple comments, if I
Okay.
could be permitted.
Go ahead.
If we can go to what I have is 563, page 563. It talks about the minimum setback from the common boundary between adjoining riparian area zones. We have, as an entity, had issues historically with this by encroachment from our adjoiner to the east, which is Rock Lake Estates. And in my opinion, 10 feet is probably not enough because it really raises or creates difficulties for enforcement, which is a later question I have. If you have some of today's modern pontoon boats, I'm not sure they're 10 feet wide, but if you only have a 10-foot setback from what is established as the line, and then you have a pier over here 10 feet away, you've got an awful close area where boats are going to be very close to one another. Now, I know there's some situations on the lake, like over by Jefferson County Park, where you have boats that only have like 10 or 12 feet, and I'm not really sure how they survive there. It must be by staggering, so they don't have each other banging into each other. But I guess what I would recommend or prefer to see here is something a little greater than 10 feet. To me, that's a real minimal amount, and to some degree, at least in my experience, probably not workable. But I do know, like I mentioned, in the Jefferson County situation, County Park situation, and probably elsewhere on the lake, you probably have owners that have very limited space, and I'm sure you've tried to fit this to work in most situations. In my situation, I don't think 10 feet is enough. So I just want that to be on.
And how many feet do you have, John?
Well, actually, I have 650 feet.
So
in
I
total.
don't feel so much hardship for you
You don't
here.
feel so bad. The problem is,
I understand what the problem is. I clearly understand what
and
the problem
I
is.
have talked with the adjoiners, and I have aerial photography that indicates violations over periods of time, but I've not been able to get anywhere with that on a person-to-person basis. So
We're hoping that this ordinance will help you to solve some of those problems, because this is not addressed in our ordinance as it stands.
okay.
The setback part of this, in the
Okay.
riparian zone, is not addressed at all.
So it would be my recommendation for your consideration to increase it to maybe another 5 feet at least, or maybe even 20, but that's probably not tenable, but I think 10 feet probably. I know it doesn't work for me, and it may not work for others here. I'm not sure everybody here is, talking about their riparian zone issues, but I'm here representing
All right.
myself and my organization. So that's one item I had. And this is related to a later issue that maybe some of the other people in this audience have. Over the years, at least back into the 1990s, and probably throughout time, individual property owners came to the board and asked the board's help to resolve certain situations or to speak on behalf of themselves to allow existing uses to continue to occur. And this was true with my family, and if you go back and read some of the minutes of the clerk at that period of time, it was fairly frequent that the board would make individual decisions on individual properties, and it was always said that those decisions would be enacted or enforced through the issuance of a permit. And our family came before the board to ask for what was a variance from the number of piers and boats that could be permitted at that time, and it was granted by the town board on a couple of occasions. So we were always good in that respect until the current time, and still will be as I read this, because there's a grandfather clause in here basically that would cover our situation as I interpret it. So I appreciate that. But my question is, with these permits, I never found one that was ever issued by any of the town boards that applied directly to our situation. It was just, we honored the agreement and everything has worked out pretty well. But there were numerous other families that had special conditions upon which the board voted. And I don't know if there was ever, I had asked at one time, do you have a file of these things so you can go back and say, okay, so-and-so has agreed to this and, all of that. And I never found out that there was anything that existed. So my question is, when you get to the very end of this document, the grandfathering clause, it says, people that were in existence before a certain date in 2016 are okay. But what has happened, and then it says, all previous ordinances are revoked. Am I correct on that? So this document will then become the new guiding document, and everything previously was revoked. So what does that mean for the people that had special appearances before the board over the last 30 years and special agreements with the board? Are those agreements still in place, or are they waived by virtue of this ordinance? You see what I'm trying to say? To me, it's not exactly clear in here that any restriction that might have been placed on our family is actually removed. And hoping you and I have had a personal conversation on this. But I want to make sure that it's clear going forward that there's no misunderstanding between JCMS LLC and the town and vice versa. So I guess I am looking for language in here that would not only would this ordinance replace previous ordinances, but it would replace all these other special conditions that might have been imposed on lakeshore owners over the years. And I don't know if there's a way to identify all those, but I know in the 90s, and then this board tried to cover this again in 2002, as I recall. And all through those years, there were a lot of folks that had lakeshore property that were having troubles and asked for, relief for special conditions. So I guess what I'm asking, in a long roundabout way, what is the board going to do with all those previous agreements that, as far as I know, were never really placed in effect through permit, only through the recording of minutes at a meeting? How does this document cover those things? And if it doesn't, and I didn't see it, I would recommend that somehow that issue is addressed in the final document. Does that make sense at all? Anybody else here have that situation where you're under some special agreement with the town board?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I am making some sense?
Yeah.
So-
No, it's very clear.
Okay. So I didn't see that sort of issue addressed in here, so I guess I'm asking that somehow the board take that one on. And maybe this gentleman is identifying with my issue, perhaps somebody, are you planning to speak as well?
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess that would mean more than one of us. In our particular case, the restriction is specific to restricting to sailboats only. I don't know if there's any other property owner on the lake that is restricted to a sailboat only. And it seems inconsistent that I'm neighboring somebody who has probably the biggest pontoon boats and strongest power boats, and on our property we're restricted to sailboats. It just doesn't seem to be quite equal treatment. So I guess what I am suggesting, a way to handle this is like under the pre-existing condition of, the existence of a pier, that there might be some statement that says, that clarifies it's irrespective of boat type, which if the type of pier or watercraft you can have is not exclusive to some particular type, then it would be open to any other type, like a kayak or a canoe or a power boat or a pontoon boat or a sailboat or whatever. Because I am aware, I believe, that Wisconsin state regulations do not, in the broader state regulations, don't specify the type of boat that a riparian owner could have. And this doesn't either, which in my interpretation would mean that it's not restricted. So what happens then with somebody who may have had an agreement 30 years ago with the town that they would have only sailboats? Because I would like to be sure that that's no longer the case. Not that I intend to change anything, but I think it's an unfair restriction. So I don't know what's so funny about that. I'm sincere.
You talk off both sides of your mouth, that's all. Your mother made an agreement, sailboats only. Now you don't want that agreement.
Right.
There's an agreement on the property that we share for 2 piers and 10 boats. I don't believe that that will ever be put forward. There are a number of those agreements. Mike has an agreement. That agreement remains intact. What Patricia and I have done is tried to assimilate a list of those keyhole type agreements so that we have an idea of where those all stand. But this ordinance is going forward from that.
So what does that mean exactly? Take my situation. I don't know this gentleman's situation, but is it basically open? Is it, am I free to have a fishing boat? Let's say I want to place a fishing boat.
I don't think that has ever been a question. You have 650 feet of shoreline.
Okay.
You can do with what you would like with that shoreline.
Okay.
I don't know where the records are even of your mother's agreement with the town of Lake Mills.
Well, I've got the minutes and all of that stuff, but there was never any, formal agreement that was put in place. It was just, and back then, the minutes in the meetings were really.
Well, things have changed 100%, John, and I assure you that things have changed 100%.
So I don't want to unduly take people's time here. I just thought that this might be an important issue to others as well. This is an easy one. Sarah, since I'm JCMS LLC on Schultz Bay, it's SCHULTZ on the top of page 566 for Schultz Bay.
Assume I drafted this, John.
Pardon me?
I don't even have a copy I can alter, to be honest with you.
Okay, so that's just a spelling error. And then I'm glad our law enforcement is here because this is the other question. In trying to resolve my particular issue, in the past it was suggested that we would go to the DNR warden and go to the township and the county and the city and try all these different places to try to enforce the encroachment. And the person that was previously in place here, the warden, I understand, was trying to be helpful in resolving these issues with adjoining property owners. When I was working, and then that person has relocated and there's somebody new, and I talked to that person, and they started referring me to different places like in the DNR and the county, and nobody wants to handle it, basically. So this document says these different local policing entities will help property owners try to resolve some of these issues under this ordinance. Is that true? In other words, if I think my neighbor's 20 feet across the riparian line, I can call Town of Lake Mills and they'll come and try to help me with that.
Correct.
Well, how do you determine on the water what's over your property?
Well-
That's why I'm here.
That's a very good question.
We're in a cul-de-sac.
We try to work with the neighbors to try to get the resolution taken care of. I dealt with one last year that was a mess. And we were able to work out an agreement between the neighbors as to how this person was going to get 8 feet of area for his pier. He had 8 foot right away. You got to go by property lines. You got to have survey markers. You can run, strings and ropes out there, laser it. If we have to get into that, we will. But if we find violations, we will end up issuing citations.
The property line does exist into your water.
That's correct.
Okay, so even in, guys, I'm on 8001 on the end of the lake,
Yeah.
and you're in that cul-de-sac, and you got 5 of us that are tight on each other.
Yeah.
It's who gets their docking first.
Yeah. And that's
And we shouldn't be
and that's
that
why
way.
we ran into problems last year.
Okay, we shouldn't be this way.
Correct.
But we've also approached and said, okay, let us move over, let us revamp the shoreline. Well, we can't do that either.
Correct.
But yet the guy across the way did a whole kit and caboodle on the shoreline. How did he do that?
Right. What I found for resolution is getting the neighbors all together in a meeting, sitting down with them and discussing it, and usually we can resolve it. Okay. Normally, I can just tell you what from the past. Normally that's worked out, and we will investigate, the police department will investigate each complaint in the township, and where there are violations. We try to get everybody to work together so we don't have to get into, because it's a mess when you start getting into, 1950s, my dad put a pier here, and the pier's been in the same spot. You understand what I'm trying to
I
get
bought
to?
the house and the dock was there. Why
Right.
should I have to move it? But that's
Right.
my property. And it's like, no, the water's not your property. That's what I'm telling them. The water's not your property.
That's
Right?
great. It's a
Fish
riparian,
outside your property.
it's a riparian rights area.
So you can't fish there either?
No, it has nothing to do with fishing, but it
Okay,
has to do
so
with
this is
piers.
the dock pier.
Piers,
Okay.
you start getting into some of these smaller, we got the 8 foot areas, that's where you start running into some issues, because pontoon boats now aren't fishing boats anymore. They're pretty wide.
Very wide.
So you start ending up with 8 feet being pretty small when you get a pontoon boat that's 8 feet wide. So, but we try to resolve them that way first. We try to work with everybody, and everybody, I have to admit, has been pretty decent. They get real detailed and everybody gets a little tempers up and stuff like that. And I understand that because everybody wants to enjoy the lake. But we will investigate, and my number, if you wish it, I will give each one of you my number and you can give us a call. We will punch a complaint and see what we can do for you.
Well, I was in public service myself in these very situations, and negotiation and working together in cooperation is the way to go. So I'm still kind of in that phase, but
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure that within this ordinance, there were some protections for folks, I guess besides myself, who are in situations where they have folks encroaching. And I know many of you probably know, if you go on the DNR website, they describe how you project lines from your property out into the lake. But if you're like me and you go to your neighbor, there's lots of different opinions of, does that line go this way, or does it go this way, or does it go this way?
Curvature of shorelines.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
And the rules or the suggestions seem to be pretty straightforward until you get a couple of parties that are disagreeing.
And then put a new house in there.
And then it's not so easy. And so going forward, I think it's important for the board, since you don't want to go through this process again for a long time, you want to try to make sure you got some of these touchy ones taken care of.
Well, shouldn't we have a way of saying before they put their pier in, if you're gonna put your pier in where it was before and you're in our riparian rights, we should review that then, not after they get the pier in. Once their pier is in, now it's a hassle to move it, it's a struggle. And I know I've worked with this for several years now. So it's kind of like, we're just gonna run our way, put our pier in, and then we'll fight it out later. Well, then there's expense to move it over. We give our 10 feet on either side. But on one side of us, they put their lift in, and that takes up your 10 feet. So shouldn't we get together before the piers are placed and say, what's really right? And would you be the person for us to go to for that?
I can't believe that
Come on, Hope.
I can't believe you're saying that. You were the first to have your pier in this spring. We made darn sure it got in.
First, we got 117 feet.
Yeah. Well, John's got 675. There's really no hardship here.
They're at 17 feet into my water.
The people that have 8 and 10 and 12 feet of frontage are having a lot more trouble than you guys are
I
having.
don't care about the comparison.
But
We're just
they're-
talking about what's right.
Correct.
Well, I guess, if we're going to talk about what's right, this ordinance has been before us for probably the last 6 years. And the Joint Rock Lake Committee meets monthly. We have been struggling with this issue. How many times have we revised it, Wes? We've been through it a million times. I have a hard time understanding your hardship at this point in time.
Well, it's
And I'm telling you this, there is not any more shoreline of Rock Lake that is being made. And we're going to have to put our jacks into one box and learn to play nicely together.
I got
And
it.
that's where it's at. And that's a compromise. This 10 feet of a setback is a compromise to give everybody some space.
Yeah, but if
The
I'm giving
enforcement,
them 10 feet and they're taking 7 of my feet, how's that a compromise, Hope?
in some cases, and I would argue, but it depends on the projection of the line, the adjoining party is over the line. So they would be in, they would
So
be in.
let's do something preventive and look at it before the piers are placed. Are you okay with that, sir?
Talking to me?
Yes? Are you?
I have
okay?
nothing to do with approving piers and lakes. I enforce the ordinance once it's in the water.
no, I think it is a matter of us working cooperatively with each other, your riparian owners that are nearby you, and with the companies that place these piers. Because the companies that place these piers will begin placing as soon as the weather is ripe, and it's a matter of who gets there first. So it's a matter of cooperating with your neighbors and with the ownership of the pier and placement company.
You guys need to take a look at the cul-de-sac down there where Pam just put her new house. It is.
I don't know who Pam is, sir, and I don't know who you are.
The superintendent for the school, okay, it is so tight down there that you can't even back boats up. Okay, if the water goes down, we have to go further out, because it's all rock over there. So, I mean, you can't give 10 feet. You can't give 3 feet. It's who gets the dock in first. That's the problem, that there's at least 4 people that are running into that. And it's becoming more and more of an issue. I keep trying to tell everybody, you can't judge the water. You go buy your property, you go straight out and move it over a little bit. Be done with it. Now you guys are saying we're gonna have problems this year. I know we are.
Do you expect local town government to
They gotta-
decide these things for you and enforce them?
It's a matter, if you're saying it's 10 feet and you have less than 3, and we throw a new house in here, and now you're trying to keep everybody's recreational activity on the water fairly, then it's okay, I'm putting my dog in.
Something's gotta
You're gonna have
give.
a hard time.
Something's got to give.
You're exactly
And what I'm
right.
saying is, I'm not exactly sure that local government can be the part that gives. It's going to have to be
Well, then the DNR's gotta
individuals.
give in and let people work on the waterfront. We've tried to move over, but they won't let us work on the waterfront. You can't touch a rock in the water and move it. If you do, you're in trouble. I mean, you can't.
I'm not exactly sure what your point is. What I'm saying is, there are only so many linear feet of shoreline on Rock Lake. You own a finite part of that part of Rock Lake. You're going to have to cooperate with your neighbors. I don't believe town government is going to be able to solve this problem.
And if they say no, and if they say, I'm gonna do it anyway, what is our recourse?
Then you work with our enforcement.
See, some of the pressures, and I think some of you know that, in a larger entity like I'm dealing with may have committed like 24 or 30 boat slips to their occupants of condominiums, but they don't have that much space for that many slips. So what they do is they sneak, and over the years, to compound it, it's not not only overcommitting for the number of boat slips. Over the years, boats have gotten bigger, and you can attest to that with pontoons. So all of a sudden, you have a limited amount of space, like Hope is saying, and there's pressure for additional spaces, and the spaces that you have to be bigger to accommodate the boats that people have
So,
now.
there could be an ordinance written that would say you must have 35 or 40 feet, or let's say 50 feet of shoreline in order to even place a pier. How many disappointed people do you think we would have then?
I'm not suggesting that, but I think when you
Maybe
talk
don't
about,
look at the ordinance, how many of them don't look at the ordinance?
it's kind of like the principle thing. If you had
You can
30
look at our ordinance now and it's in tatters. So this is an attempt to make a more
I'm just saying, there's how many
restrictive
people-
and a more fair ordinance.
Right, but how many people around the water actually look at it?
well,
I guess it's just like licensing your dog. If you decide you don't want to license your dog, that's your problem. But it is the responsibility of the town board to protect the health and well-being of the animal population in our township. And so we have that responsibility. We have this responsibility to regulate these piers.
See, in my situation, I started out by saying I'm generally okay with this, and I can work with it. I think I said that. But in terms of the rule, it's the principle of the thing when you have, and that might be your situation, where you have people intentionally encroaching, and the affected property owner doesn't have any recourse, seemingly. That's where the issue comes in.
Well, I think
So-
we have an example from last summer where Matt stepped in and tried to work with the neighbors who were squabbling about who could have what where. And what's happening is, many of these situations have existed for 100 years, like your situation. They've been grandfathered in over the last 60, 75 years. Now homes are changing, shapes of homes are changing, people's expectations are changing, boat size is changing, the size of motors is changing. We have to keep up somehow, but what I'm saying is, we can regulate to a point, but in the end, it really is going to be up to individual owners to respect other people's rights, respect other people's riparian rights, and respect our lake. We can't just shove all this stuff in here and expect that nothing's going to happen. We have to be respectful of what we own, and we have to share. And I don't think any kind of government is going to take over there. We can try, and by God, we have tried with this ordinance, but it's not going to solve all these problems.
No, and I think I get that. My issues may not be as severe as some of the others. I'm just putting this out on the table as.
But when you
it's a hearing.
bought, or you inherited 650 feet of shoreline, when you bought 20 feet of shoreline, that's what you bought, and that's what you're stuck with. If you bought next to a boat launch, that's what you bought. If you live next to some other kind of structure, commercial structure on the lake, that's where you are.
And I think, I get that, it's just that we want to be able to protect whatever our investment is within that riparian area.
With the idea that you are also stewarding that into the future.
Yeah, and I would like to believe I'm a reasonably good steward, others
I
might
think you've
disagree.
done a nice job, John.
So I'm going to sit down, I'm sorry if I took way too much time. But I think, I might have just touched on some of the areas that were of interest to others, so maybe they can talk to their specific issues. So generally, I'm okay. I just was trying to offer some suggestions and asking if there was an opportunity. If I can't take care of things myself, I have someone to come.
In a township police non-emergency number, if you don't know it, is 920-988-1944. And if there's an officer on in a squad, he will come out and handle your complaint. If not, it'll go to me personally, it goes to my personal cell phone. And I'll gladly come out and take a look and punch a complaint. I don't have one on me, I can get one from,
Yeah,
it's
but
in my
your
office.
number's on the website, correct?
It is on the website. It's also on the website on there also.
Yeah.
I'll gladly come out and handle all complaints and take a look at the situation and do the best I can, but I would be the primary contact for those.
Okay. And your name again, sir?
Matt Miller, Chief Miller.
Chief Miller? Matt Miller? Thank you, Hope.
You're welcome. Wes, do you have anything you'd like to add as the chair of the Joint Rock Lake Committee who has recommended this ordinance to the town board?
I think they were all valid comments. We tried to address the setback, and that follows the state law, by the way, 10 feet. And as far as you don't own the water,
Right.
okay?
Right.
What we tried to do is say, from the point where your lot meets the water from side to side, that's your riparian rights. Okay?
But that's where we're at, is that tight hook in that corner down there.
Yeah, sure, I know.
We're right on top of each other.
Yeah.
And there's no, I mean, if the DNR would let them do a little reconstruction, I would gladly have her move her stuff over. But they refused us 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, they're not gonna let you do
Right, so, and she owns it, but they won't let us touch it.
Hope, can I ask, what happens after this meeting? This is a public hearing.
This is a public hearing.
To talk about the proposed ordinance revision, and then what are the next steps?
The next step is the next step on the agenda. It's a discussion and decision of the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay, so there's not maybe opportunity for any revision based on.
If you feel there needs to be an opportunity for revision, then this would be the time to bring it up. And the Joint Rock Lake Committee has been helping us with this. This would be the most logical step, would be to go back to the Joint Committee. They will be meeting again in April, and then it can come back before us at the end of April, or at our annual meeting in April.
Well, then my suggestion, as I mentioned at the podium, was that there be just a couple of words that say, that would allow the certain number of piers and watercraft, 4 maximum is what I'm understanding, unless you're grandfathered in some other way. And I would say irrespective of the type of watercraft. That would resolve my situation, because then it's clear that in those 4 spaces, or 2, or whatever you can have any kind of a boat there, or watercraft as is defined by the ordinance in that space. Does that make sense, or does that seem troublesome?
that. That's how the ordinance is written.
I'm sorry?
That's how the ordinance is written. It talks about watercraft, doesn't talk about what kind of watercraft.
Doesn't talk about the type of watercraft.
PWCs, and it does single those out. But as far as sailboat versus a fishing boat, there's no difference. Your issue, which I can't address, is The board said 30 years ago, there was a restriction. I don't know how to address that. I can only tell you what the ordinance says, and that says any type of boat.
So what I'm hearing from that is if you understand the definition of watercraft.
It's defined in the ordinance.
It includes all of those types, I'm okay.
Why don't you read that, Sarah?
Watercraft means any device used and designed for navigation on water.
So if I have the correct number of piers and the correct number of watercraft, I'm good. I can have.
I've told you that a million times.
Well, you and I can have a conversation, but I've been in federal government service, and unless it's documented clearly, what you and I talk about on the phone.
I have a suggestion. The ordinance is published on our website in its entirety. Go through it.
I got it, I printed it.
If you have questions, come to the April meeting of the Joint Rock Lake Committee, and we will go through this one more time. It will then move to the agenda again in April.
Well, I
For
think
approval.
from what Wes has said, I'm okay, because
Sounds like
the watercraft thing, I'm broadly fit under the watercraft definition, just like almost everybody here would. And as long as I don't have more than 2 piers or more than 4 watercraft, in my case it's a little different because of the grandfathering, but I should be, that was my major point here, I'm okay with that. So, and I guess what I've heard here tonight is that for some of us who need law enforcement assistance, if we think there's a gross violation of what's happening here, we have access to Officer Miller. So I don't want to be portrayed as unreasonable here. I'm just trying to make sure I understand what the ordinance says.
And watercraft could be a wave runner, could be a board.
A jet ski?
Okay.
John, I think my suggestion to you would be, if you're really concerned about that agreement that your mother had made, and you and your sisters had to adopt it, you might want to get on the agenda and petition and give you reasons why you'd want it removed. And just to be, clear, otherwise surely the ordinances allow you to have, whatever you want out there, but if you want it removed, I hope we would be able to accomplish that
I
pretty easily.
bet that we don't even have a copy of the agreement that your mother Dorothy struck with the town board in 1956. I bet we don't even have a copy of that.
Well, all there is what was in the minutes of the meeting at that time. And it was pretty sketchy. And a lot of this is like back in the caveman days, like conversation and.
Right, yeah, and if the wrong person would get a hold of it, they could, hold you to the fire, so.
Well, what I'm hearing now from you guys is not really, because I'm okay under watercraft. Unless all previous ordinances are hereby revoked, see, what I'll almost have to say in the ordinance that and previous agreements with the town, but I don't know if you'd want to do that. If I was sitting in your chair without knowing what those are, I don't think I would want to say that. So maybe what you're saying, Dave, is maybe the right thing. For my individual case, I come to you guys and say, hey, this has been bugging me for a long time.
Sure, yeah.
And exactly. Do it.
If I may add, if I remember correctly, when the pier ordinance was looked at, and the DNR really redid all of their pier ordinances, 10 years ago, when we had looked at it, we had gone through all of the agreements around the lake, and I think we had reestablished some of those ones that were.
They had to be registered.
Right. Where are those?
That statewide registration
Yeah.
completely fell apart. It was never, those were recorded.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure where those lie within the DNR, but those agreements, the state never followed through. There was a change of administration. None of that has been followed up.
Recognize, like the grandfathered properties at that time as a town board, and try to
They couldn't
document
handle the
better
whole onslaught.
because we were finding that the minutes were very vague. We tried to reestablish some of those agreements.
See, now, I was one of those families that actually registered our boats, because at the time, I thought this is the rule.
Many
You
people
follow-
did.
you
Many
follow the
people did.
rule. And I think maybe it, as you said, fall apart, but now I have my pier locations documented and registered and recorded in Jefferson County, so if there's any question that I was in place before 2016.
No, you're
I
all
think-
right. You're
I
all
think
right. Well, I
I'm
just
plenty
went
fine.
through this process.
Pardon me?
I just went through this process. And
Okay.
what they said was, if you register, it stands. If you add, you got to go through the permit process.
Yeah, and I don't.
And I just went through that, so I know about that.
So I think I'm on pretty firm ground, I just don't wanna, you know.
But I would still challenge the fact that, make sure you're okay on the ordinance and your both sides. That's just my recommendation, which one. And I have one last question for you, Hope.
Yes.
Did I hear you correct that our organization is grandfathered in? The PI organization is grandfathered in? Because I thought I heard you say that first thing.
Well, it's apparent that that has been passed by the DNR and approved.
Yeah,
It has?
you have a permit.
And so you have a permit,
Yep.
and you have the paperwork on that. What I'm asking for you to do is be respectful of your neighbors, so that there is some
I am
buffer.
Totally for that,
So there's a buffer there.
but I just need them to meet me halfway.
All right. That's
And if
a,
they don't, I'm going to go.
that's a neighborhood agreement. And as I said before, they're not making any more shoreline. You're all gonna have to live together for a long
Well,
time.
you know, you'd like to say that, but if you don't get cooperation, you're on your own. And that's why I've asked for our officers.
You're not really on your own. You have the support of enforcement.
That's
All right, I guess what I would like to do now is a motion to close the public hearing on the town ordinance.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. I will move to item B, discussion and decision on the adoption and revisions of the ordinance. You guys have an opinion on how you would like to move forward, hearing the testimony we have tonight.
Wes, do you think it needs another look from your guys' end?
I didn't hear anything that suggested we change it other than the going back to the council on
Okay.
special agreements. I mean, the ordinance doesn't address that, nor do I think it should.
So, hearing that, I would make a motion to adopt the town ordinance 5-6, regulation of piers on Rock Lake, as it stands.
Second it.
Now, is there more discussion on the part of the board? Hearing none. All in favor of approving ordinance 5-6, regulation of piers on Rock Lake, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Thank you. This has not been an easy or swift process. Wes, you and your committee, thank you very much. Now, one of the goals that we really would like to seek here with this ordinance is to have it match the city's ordinance. That will be another day. Our ordinance stands. Appreciate your help. Thank you for coming, you guys. Item C, discussion on revisiting ordinances regulating seasonal weight limits, speed limits, and abandoned vehicles. I, for one, feel that our weight ordinance is okay.
I think it's okay. The only thing you can make it a little bit simpler would be the same thing we talked about before, was to state the state statute or print the state statute. But any contractor that has any savvy at all can Google it, and it's right in front of you, or every time they call, I remind them of what it is. So I'm okay with it. The only thing that I think needs to be changed is we did not add the new roads to it, is all. I think it was, what, Hope Lake Road, because that one got missed, and I don't know if Saddle Lane, Bridle Path, I think the original portions were on there, so they might be kind of all encompassed, but.
The links were on there too, weren't they?
The what?
Links were on there somewhere. That's
Ah.
why we would change.
Yeah, that could be.
Why do you think Hope Lake Road is not on there?
It got missed,
Okay.
is
All right, I guess that's what we gotta do.
So other than that, I don't,
The abandoned vehicle ordinance is still hanging fire. I suggest we put that on next month's agenda and that you guys pull that up and look at that again. The speed limits, I thought we addressed.
Never finished it.
So I guess we got to put that on to next month too. We're missing some roads, huh?
yeah, we just have to check those. The other thing is, Hope, with the seasonal weight limits, because it's been so cold, I've been kind of waiving them, but we have one contractor on lot 53 that's going to be stripping the forms off the walls they poured today. They're going to load up the forms and they're going to try to be out of there by mid-morning. So I guess with the warm weather coming, you know, then we're going to have to start. And I talked to Matt a little bit about that, about starting to enforce those after tomorrow.
So you've made an exception after tomorrow.
Because it's been so cold.
All right, what about daybreak?
Well, I think I'll give Rick a call because I do.
already talked to him.
Because there is a few trucks that are sneaking down
I
across.
told
the
him,
road.
I said, you're you're now underweight limits. He tried to contact me and hasn't gotten back to me.
Okay.
I'm playing hardball.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of
And,
trucks.
I'm gonna ask you to play hardball, no more special dispensation.
Right, yeah, because it's warming up. Before, it didn't really make any difference.
Right. I'm gonna play hardball at
Yep.
daybreak.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
sure.
Okay, move that to next month. Item D, discussion of ATV trails and routes. Aren't you glad you came tonight?
You guys are getting an education, aren't you? Or bored, one or the other.
I think these are a whole lot better than these boats, and it's a little simpler.
Never mess with anybody in their boats.
Or ATVs.
Okay, where are you at?
Where are we at?
Yeah.
We're waiting for you guys to make a decision if we can open up the township roads to use with UTV and ATVs. The city of Waterloo passed it in all of their city roads, or all their city streets, 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, right? Yeah. Township of Waterloo's been passed. There's been a couple other ones, I think, in the counties that have passed, and we're just asking you guys to consider Lake Mills Township roads.
Which is a kind of an interesting fact. I talked to my sister-in-law and she said that there has been no increase of ATV traffic in the town of Waterloo since the ordinance went on.
Well,
so.
there's also 40 feet of snow
Well,
on
but
the road.
they've been on before it snowed.
It's been years since Waterloo
Yeah.
Township has passed it, and
So it's been a
you
while.
don't, I drive through Dodge County when I'm going into my territory for work, and I have never passed an ATV on the road.
Yeah.
So,
It's just the guys that were sneaking by, it's okay to do it now, and it hasn't been any increase, so.
I mean, Matt, you were in Hebron before. Was it a huge issue? Were there lots of them out on the road? I mean, was it like an interstate of
No.
ATVs, UTVs?
No.
I don't think you're gonna see, if you see an increase, it's gonna be for a very short time because it's gonna be something that's very new that everybody
I'd
wants to
agree.
do it, and then it is gonna just go by the wayside again.
Yeah. Bill, do you want to talk a little bit
I
about?
can add a little bit.
Sure.
Bill Velasquez, living in the city here, Lake Mills. I started the club and I'm vice president of it now. We have 163 members. The average age is 52. To give you an example, this is my machine here. This is what you're dealing with. Most of the side-by-sides, the ATV people, they like to ride the dirt and they go up north. So most of what you'll see will be something like this here. There's a carder, they call it a smart car. It ain't much bigger actually, and they're illegal, but we have, right now, we have in Dodge County, just about over half of Dodge County already. There's 24 townships in Dodge County, we have 13, all the way up to Mayville, Asherton, just off of Beaver Dam, almost to Columbus. So there's another club working on the other half of Dodge County right now, and I'm pretty sure it'll be going through. And it has been no trouble. This is growing. There's 7 counties so far in the state. We just want to write township roads. There's 7 counties that pass all township or all county roads. Grant County, for example, 900 miles. So this isn't, there's 8 states that actually get license plates, and they're working on that, it's up at the Capitol a week ago. That's the way it should go. And we're trying to make a rule if this happens here, where the money for the registration, this is putting a license plate on these vehicles and right anywhere other than interstate. Hopefully that money go back to the townships is what we're pushing for. So you guys, it's road maintenance. We spent over $15,000 in signing so far, signing all this year. We got a lot more to do yet. To me, it's a waste of money. The money would be better spent on maintaining the roads than putting up these stupid signs, I think at least. But I'm working on that. The state's been doing this, Act 87 they passed, if the township or village or city has speed limits of 35 miles or less, it doesn't matter if it's a state highway, county highway, it's up to the city or the township to okay even the state highway. So they've been adding more acts, they've been, they wouldn't be doing that if there'd be trouble. It really hasn't. There's 395,000 registered ATV, UTVs in the state of Wisconsin. Twice as many as snowmobiles, and we use them 12 months, or can use them 12 months out of the year. And it's real strict, you gotta have a seatbelt on, they're real strict about that, the fine is like $200 if you don't, headlights and stuff like that, and we want that, we don't want no trouble. So,
could you touch on the revenue generation of some counties like Greene County?
Yeah, Greene County, Lafayette County, $15 million revenue. Darlington down there, the city of Darlington, but they got a cheese trail that goes through, and also they got motels and the campgrounds and stuff. Between $500,000 and $700,000 for Darlington. Jackson County and Lincoln County. I just read a study on Jackson County between $7 and $9 million. And that was money from outside the county that came in. They didn't include the people that rode within the county. This is outside people coming into that county. There's a real neat study. I just got that. It's amazing. So, and these people, for the most part, I did another speech one time. I said I spend about $100 a day when we're out riding. Somebody says I spend 120. Well, their wallet's thicker than mine, but they're expensive machines, but they're safe. You kind of gotta show you this one here quick. Little camper on and they sell that little camper on the back of it.
That's cute. I dare you to curl up in there.
Tiny House Nation.
I don't know. I don't know the reference. I don't know where she's going, but a motorcycle. These things there's no big argument. They're many, many times safer than a motorcycle. You can't argue that. They got 4 wheels, the roll cage, seat belts. It just, we pay for the signs, so we have been at least, don't like to, but we have been, if you go.
I don't like to buy signs either.
No, I know. But I see in Jefferson County, an awful lot of bike signs. And they're the same size signs. You gotta be 18 by 24. The state tells you what size you gotta be. And these are official signs. And I don't know the bikes, who's paying for those signs, but our problem is we haven't been paying for these here. And if you pass all the roads, sometimes they cringe at the thought of that. You're not going to see 13,000 people coming from Chicago riding up and down all your roads. It won't happen. It'd be kind of good if it did happen, but it ain't going to happen. And we'll have a main route, and that way the people can get through the main road. That's the idea. And it saves a lot of money just marking the perimeter. So.
And once you pass it, then we can go to the city, and then for the next 2 years, you'll be able to ride your UTV.
Exactly what I was just going to ask you. How are you going to approach the city of Lake Mills?
That should be easy.
And the other question I have for you is, as soon as this was discussed at our last meeting, I had a call from another town chairperson who is totally dead against this. And he sent me some reports, ATV accident report that the state provided. There was also some guidance given through the Towns Association about liability, which I read. I've discussed this with Brian Udovich at the county level. I said, you know, this is going to be something that we're going to be approached about. How do you feel about it? He was not real affirmative about it. I guess there needs to be a lot more work done here before we can approve this. First of all, we're going to have an ordinance. I know you gave copies of the ordinance. I don't see anyone on the board who just jumped right up and said, we're going to write this ordinance. See the halos over their heads? And I guess I'd like to see a little bit more about how you might approach the city of Lake Mills.
Yeah.
I mean, we made light of going to Culver's, but you know, that ain't in the town of Lake Mills anymore. It's in the city of Lake Mills.
Yeah.
I guess I have questions about, are you going to think that you can run off the road in the culverts?
No.
What are we
That's
going to
dirt.
do with situations like we have now where the shoulders are extremely soft?
Can't run on the shoulders, it's illegal. Can't run on the shoulders.
The accident details are not in your favor from the report that I read. Even though your membership is 52 as an average age, the accident statistics were not pretty.
I think that was brought up in the city of Lake Mills when we were going through that, and granted, the number of accidents probably increased, but over the last probably 10 to 15, 20 years, the sheer number of vehicles that are registered also have to play a part in that. So it's retrospective of how many vehicles you have out there versus how many accidents you have.
And that's true, but then at the same time, how are they calculated? There's a lot of trails, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong on the trails, as on the road too, but is there any correlation between the two?
It's actually going down. It's a good point. And I know read because there's information that I forget the abbreviation of them, but I call them tree huggers, but they're against anything with motor in it, and they got that accident reports, and I don't know what they're using. Just for example, there's an ATV that went through the ice, fell through the ice and he died. Another ATV went over a quarry, over a cliff. His girlfriend survived, but he died. But how do they classify that? It wasn't on a trail, it wasn't on the road. There was two UTVs where a guy didn't have a seatbelt on, and he was right in the ditch, which is illegal. He crashed, he got thrown out of it, and he got killed. If he had a seatbelt on, he probably would have survived, but he was riding illegal. And you might have them people rob banks, you know, you don't close the banks down. You're going to have some people, hopefully not too many, that do this. With the number of machines, they're up to, there's 30,000 more this year in April than a year ago. It's growing fast. And the accident rate, I'm a member of WAFA, Wisconsin ATV Association. It's actually gone down. So I don't know, it hasn't been, at least with the UTVs. The ATVers, if you think about it, those guys we call riding the dirt, they're like riding up north. You're riding on trails that, you know, it could be 2 feet or 3 feet from trees. You know, we're just looking to ride the roads. It should be a safe road. It's for everybody. Bicycles or us or tractors or a milk truck or whatever. You know, you got a nice ditch and it's so it's a safer place to ride. There's only about 2,000 miles of trails in the state of Wisconsin, and I have no idea. This last year, they said there were 7 counties now, and that just happens in the last year. These are county highways where they're competing with semis. I mean, cars can drive a semi, and you know, going 55 miles an hour road. I don't know what the speed limit on your town roads are here. You maybe got both 55 and 45. 45 for most of it, and I think everybody's trying to go down to that. So it's not a. There's usually a lot of traffic. You know, these counties, we're talking a county road, 900 miles of county roads in Grant County that they pass. They wouldn't be doing that if they really were in trouble. And as far as the city of Lake Mills here, being the construction downtown, I always take things to extreme. If you had all semis, like at Madison on the Beltline, for example, can you imagine what it'd be like? But if you had all these little cars, like this little smart car on the Beltline, it would be a whole lot less congestion. Downtown, the businesses are going to want to have business. They're going to want to have customers in there, you know. And if they're smart, they'd let. Ideally, if somebody would walk to it. Well, I live on the north side. I probably won't walk down there, and I don't have a bike. but I might take my rig down there and buy Doyle's hot dog, you know, and participate in, so the downtown has, because they should allow it. Instead of me taking my four-wheel drive dually honking pickup truck downtown, I'll take my little General.
So, can I ask this question? You cite the specifics of Grant County. How come you haven't gone directly to the county for approval? They would then come to the towns and ask the towns.
We did that in Dodge County, and it kind of went bad. We were going ahead with the county, having meetings and meetings, and then all of a sudden they said, well, some of these townships that you want to write in, we want to write all township roads to start with, and try to avoid the county. We don't want no trouble. We run the county roads only what we need to get to the next town road, so usually it just jogs. That's what we're looking for, at least. I'm looking to license to ride everywhere, but for our club, I'm speaking for the club right now. So the county, after months, and then they said, well, you don't have that township yet. Go back to the township and get that. We had the township for telling us, get the county first. So where do you go first? We really only want to write township roads, and they're very little. There are 7 counties, you know, the whole thing, and it's amazing. Marquette County, every township on Marquette County is all open for writing. I don't know how many throughout the state there are. It's been growing.
How do you feel about ATVs, UTVs on ice-covered waters?
Awesome.
Better than a car.
I've ridden from up by Columbus all the way down to Kashigan. I had a Razor. Twice I've done that, and on the river. I was on the river too, all the way down. I didn't fall in. If I did, I'd be, because I don't swim. But it's awesome.
What about the need for some kind of flotation devices?
Madison, I think you gotta have that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And I see that might be a repercussion here, that we would have to require that.
Yeah.
We should probably need it on cars then too, because
Right.
cars are gonna weigh a lot more than UTVs and
Right,
ATVs.
exactly.
I don't know where, I think I don't know what usually the lakes, rivers, according to the DNR, I think they're all legal to ride on, like, as far as I can tell. Now Madison, I know you gotta have flotation, but,
That's a county ordinance.
Yes,
I
it's a
don't
Dane
know.
County ordinance.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, I think this, you're expecting that we are going to write the ordinance and decide exactly how we would like to see you perform.
We just gave you a couple examples.
Yes.
That last time, and with a lot of the cops, like, you got your own here, so you're luckier, but otherwise, when it's county, a lot of townships don't have their own, so we try to keep it pretty close to the same, so everybody knows the rules best we can. Our club, I don't like it, but our club has a curfew, and it works out pretty good. We don't want nobody, you know, if they're out at 2 in the morning, it's probably not good, you know, unless they're, then again, the farmer, he may be going to his combine. This is growing so fast, some of the rules ain't keeping up. Can he go out, even though there might be, town of Waterloo has an ordinance, I think it's 12 midnight till 6 a.m. And yet if that farmer wants to go get his combine, he's out in his ATV, is he running illegal? You know, he's an competitor.
So, do you have a sponsor on this board who would be happy to write that legislation for you? Have you approached anyone on this board?
That's smiling.
Bill's been talking to me, but I guess that part hasn't came up, other than there'd have to be an ordinance wrote, there'd have to be public hearing, would have to be published, and then it would come back for a vote. So, I mean, that's...
Just like the process we've been going through with the peer ordinance.
I guess-
Someone's going to have to shoulder the responsibility of writing it and making the rules and then bringing it forward to the public.
One of my suggestions, Hope, would be that, I know on the day of road tour, it gets to be long, but we'd be all together, so that could be a topic of discussion that we could, you know, have a format, or get it PDF so we could play with it or something, I don't know.
All right.
So we already brought the ordinances to you, the examples of them. So we did that hoping that it would be easier for you guys.
Correct,
And not
yes.
have the time involved in recreating the wheel.
To reinvent it, yeah.
Would not
So
ever
what more do
recreate the
we-
wheel.
What more do we have to do on that?
Find a sponsor. Find someone who's going to help you get this done.
Right?
Well,
Who sponsors, like, which way?
you know, so
Someone has to do the hard work. Someone has to do the heavy lifting.
I mean, I would volunteer myself to be a sponsor, but
Could you literally write an ordinance?
That's what I'm saying, it's already wrote.
Yeah, and
I'm saying, and then have
they
them just tweak it, and then they wouldn't be.
That's why we gave it to them at the last meeting.
Right.
So you guys had it, so basically, can we ask you, Dave, to help us with it?
Gotcha, I'll take it on. Won't we, Sarah?
That's the way it's working. I think you're misinterpreting what I said. I think someone has to sponsor this. Someone's going to have to do the heavy lifting. And you're not going to shift the responsibility to Sarah because she's going to be leaving this office in another 3 weeks. So it's up to you guys to figure it out. Get somebody to sponsor it, put it together, bring it to us. We'll work on it from there.
I'm sure the club is, if there's a representative from the council here that would be willing to work with the club is all for assisting in any way, shape, or form of drafting ordinances, talking to the people that need to be talked to, and answering any questions that should come up. I mean, they've been doing it for a couple of years now, so.
If I can
Yes.
make a suggestion.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm from the Motocross Association. I run Ascalon, the motocross over here in the town of Ascalon. We have a congressman named Mike Schwarzenbacher. He will take care of all of this for you. So all they have to do is give the information to them, and they will go over it.
Congress, that's federal. Congress?
The AMA Congress.
Oh.
Yeah, that would do all this for you, and you don't even have to go through all this.
Well, yeah, but there really isn't, you have this is one we made up. Do you have this one yet? This was the simplest, the ordinance that we made up.
Yeah,
He does
yeah,
this
you gave
all
us,
over the state
we all
for
had
other
copies of
clubs and
that last
organizations.
month, yeah.
Just-
It's kind of, pretty much like Waterloo's, isn't it, actually, I think, yeah.
We've utilized a lot of other ordinances, and actually, some of the ones that we've had have been vetted by their township lawyers, and
Oh, that would happen.
that sort of, even with the city of Waterloo, they took portions of other ordinances to formulate what they actually wanted.
Sure.
That was written up by a lawyer. That one that was from Waterloo, it came from Lowell. And when they took out Lowell, and one thing different on what Lowell had was because they got Amish up there and they had something in there about the horses. And Waterloo said, we don't have that, so they took that part out. But that, what I gave you a copy of, that was written up by a lawyer. And we was at Town of Watertown last night, and I've heard this before, they said that it's available to you. I found it one time on the website, and tried to find it again. I don't, in your town stuff, there's a sample of an ordinance that's available. And I to go through all that, I found it one time, and then I went to try to find it again. It's apparently in there that they recommend using.
All right, you understand what I'm saying?
Well, you're
Someone's
saying you
got
want
to.
somebody's
got
got
to pull this together.
The work's already been there in the ordinance that's been promoted to you guys.
Yeah, but this is nothing else to do, I don't know.
We just want to know if you guys would look at it and say, hey, we need to make these tweaks to it in order to adopt it.
Okay. We'll leave it at that and see if anyone wants to make a tweak to it. How's that sound? And we can discuss this on our road tour. That will be up on the next part of our agenda when we're setting that up. I know you've done some work on this. I do think it needs some further thought and discussion. Are we situated there? You're going to help them?
I'm good.
All right, good.
You good?
Item E, update on Sherwood Hills Road pond cleanup. Did you make a decision? I missed it.
What's that?
I was just teasing.
It's gonna be your swan song?
Well, I know I said I could sponsor, but my thing is I'm done as well with, Sarah, so.
You've still got 3 weeks left.
That's my thing.
You're gonna be right in there
He
through
can
the
stir it
16th
all
of
up and
April.
step out,
Don't even
right?
think about going anywhere till the 16th of April. Okay, update on Sherwood Hills Road pond cleanup. Trying really hard to pull together a group. Everyone leaves town when it's snowy. Try to pull this together and start to talk to these guys about easements. Moving on. Item F, update on intergovernmental agreement with the town of Deerfield for snow removal on Brown Lane, Rather Road, and Deerfield, Deer Lake Road, my new favorite road. I have the letter. Received this letter, I did not have it in my hand last night, for your information. This letter is dated on the 26th of February. It's written to me per our phone conversation after last monthly board meeting on February 11th, 2019. For the town of Deerfield, I wanted to reiterate that the town of Deerfield will be reviewing Rather Lane, Brown Lane, Deer Lake Lane for this winter season for a better understanding of what is required to properly maintain these roads for plowing and salting. The town board will revisit your proposal after this information has been compiled and reviewed. And so they actually blew me off until June of this year. They would like to talk about that.
Okay.
And so that's perfectly all right with me. It was a little disturbing to me. I spoke with the guy who does the plowing for the town of Deerfield. He has not seen Mr. Forrest out on either of these roads. He said he usually gets there first. I specifically gave Jay orders to keep those roads open until I could reach an agreement with this town board. And I think they're feeling a little taken advantage of. Although I submitted the intergovernmental agreement to them with a price tag attached, and I guess we're good to go this year until we bring this back up in June. Correct? Yes.
And I did encourage the board over there to get something in writing. The first knee-jerk reaction was, we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. I explained to them the importance of getting this stuff in writing, both municipalities, for service providers, etc.
And we also have the hanging chad, I will call it, of Deer Lake Road, which does not belong to anyone. I did get the guy to admit to me last night that the town of Deerfield put up the sign. And so we will need to revisit that.
I think they need to still establish that as a town road, actually get it dedicated as part of a town road.
It either needs to be dedicated to us or it needs to be dedicated to them.
I think the county line is
Right there. And I said last night, I spoke with them. I spoke to the county highway administrator and one of his assistants, or her assistants, and they said there was a simple way for us to decide if we would like to claim that road. So we just need to figure out who wants to do it.
Would you even consider taking that road in the condition it's in?
I
as being
would
gravel?
consider taking that road in the condition that it's in and making sure that it remained gravel. But there are properties on both of those roads beyond that. Mrs. Lovejoy says she has another split, another lot there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm pretty sure the town of Deerfield would not be real excited about taking it on without it being improved. I would be happy to take it on since it serves one of our houses that has a fire number in the town of Lake Mills. I would be happy to take that on with the understanding that it would be gravel for the rest of its natural life. I guess we have to work this out.
Yeah, I guess so.
I was a little surprised to see the sign. I'm glad I finally got to the bottom of that, though.
The one thing that I did do for the sake of both houses, I contacted the DNR warden that manages the Goose Lake area and asked what do they do as far as plowing or what is expected of DNR parking lots. They say they do not plow any DNR parking lots. They don't expect towns to do that for them. During the winter months, they just stay snow covered. That's their standard.
That's their standard, and I asked the same question of Dane County. They have no desire to plow DNR parking lots. We have been forced to plow DNR parking lots because we have bus turnarounds.
Bus turnaround.
And I don't know if there are children on that road at this point in time. I don't think so, but
yeah, on both roads there is. On London Road and also Alley Road, there's
yeah,
kids
but
that
not
are-
on
Oh,
Deer
on
Lake
those
Road.
roads, yeah, okay, gotcha.
But we don't know who might live there in the future. I just thought it was a good standard of practice to ask them in the intergovernmental agreement to cover that too. So we'll wait and see what they have to say.
and encouraged to get something right.
They have a few more troubles over there than we do. It was a very interesting civics lesson. Item 10, new business. A, discussion and decision on Highway 89 construction signage. I asked that we put this on the agenda because I'm feeling a little worried about what's going to happen in the next 2 years. There is no public or municipal money being put forward towards signage by the city of Lake Mills or by the town at this point in time. The Main Street Committee is shouldering the responsibility of the signage for downtown businesses. There is a permit process for signage that needs to be approved by the City of Lake Mills Public Works. I am suggesting that we put together a budget for signage for 2019 and for 2020 to help us direct traffic for businesses at this end of the road construction area. That's my suggestion. I know that our highway budget is pinched, but I think that this is kind of a critical thing. I wanted to talk to the Daybreak people. I wanted to talk to the Vita Plus people. I did talk with the Topels across the street to see what their plans might be, and I'm still gathering facts, but I wanted you guys to think about that expenditure and put that into the budget for this year and for next year.
Those are the only two businesses we have from, the south end of town is these two.
Are they in the town or in the city?
They're in the city.
They're in the city.
Daybreak, of course, is in the town. And our town hall is in the city. But I still think we need to participate in the signage portion of this construction. I think it would be something that we could do in good faith without losing too much capital. What are your thoughts? You hate to spend money, I know that.
Has any signage been considered for elections?
Well, that's what I'm thinking about. Yes, Dave?
Just went to the DOT meeting today. If you guys are considering that the signage is gonna have to be probably bigger than what they have put up today because the city was not, or didn't seem to be satisfied, or the Chamber of Commerce wasn't satisfied from.
You have to clarify, are you talking Main Street, are you talking Chamber of Commerce, you're talking city?
I'm talking Main Street, and I'm talking city. I just came from the DOT meeting earlier today.
Well, the Main Street Committee is the committee that has been doing the signage. If they're not happy with themselves.
Well, apparently the signage is gonna be changed up and they're gonna allow them to start, for the businesses to start putting their own stuff on the barricades effective today.
Okay.
Just thought I'd let you know.
Well, this is not something we have to decide tonight, but I think it's going to be critical for us, not so much this year as it will be next year. I think too about Kurt over at Vita Plus and all the people that are going to be coming in there. You may say that we do not have any responsibility here because they are in the city, but most of their customers are people who live in the town of Lake Mills, so.
If we're gonna do anything about election signage, that would have to be tonight.
But the road is still gonna be open. It's only
The road is
closed,
open.
yeah. And actually, I think
Not for this election.
most of the people that are going to be involved in these businesses and also voting, they know their way around the town and they know where they're going, so I don't know if they need to be
I
spoon-fed.
agree, for this year, they don't need to, but it is something to think about for next year when this is torn up and it's a presidential election year.
Does the town consider any moratoriums on special events that come through because of construction?
Well, we've involved all of these people in this process. I spoke individually with both of these race directors, and they are aware of it, and they are on the DOT's website, and they're planning for next year too. I don't know about a moratorium. Here again, that brings a great deal of expendable income into our city at that time. I guess we're going to have to just wait and see how things go. But I did want them all to be informed on how things were going down and what was maybe going to happen in the next couple of years. I'm counting that we are going to have a very smooth transition here and that the city's going to be able to keep track of their construction and keep everything on track, and that the weather isn't going to go south. We're going to cross our fingers on a hell of a lot of things. So it's just one of those things. We don't need to make a decision tonight, but I want you to think about that as we go forward into the next year. Let's move to item B, discussion and decision on 2018 budget amendments. And you guys start getting your calendars out here because you're going to want to be involved.
There you go. So, essentially, we took in a little over $20,000 more last year than budgeted, and we spent about the same. So, most of these are coming straight out of that
All right.
excess.
Why don't I read the first two and you read the second two? How's that?
And remember, there's more detail to it, but remember when we got the bill last May for the Lake Mills Fire Department and it was more than we had budgeted, we did that amendment at that time.
Correct. All right, budget resolution, Town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, a resolution changing the 2018 budget of the Town of Lake Mills, Wisconsin, adopted by 2/3 majority vote of the entire membership of the town board. Let it be resolved by the town board of the Town of Lake Mills as follows, that the sum of $17,581.55 is hereby transferred from the general fund to the general government budget to cover expenses for legal services.
That's where the excess, yeah, that's where we went over.
All in favor of approving this budget, let's see, I'll make a motion to approve the budget resolution.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the budget resolution for the general fund and general government, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. The resolution is carried. Budget resolution for the Town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, a resolution changing the 2018 budget of the Town of Lake Mills, Wisconsin, adopted by 2/3 majority of the entire membership of the town board. Be it resolved by the town board of the Town of Lake Mills as follows. The sum of $1,616.02 is hereby transferred from the general fund to the public safety budget to cover expenses for fire signs.
I'll make the motion.
And I will second that. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the budget amendment on the general fund with transfer to public safety, please say aye.
Aye.
Your turn.
Okay, well, I can't make a motion now.
I know, but you can read it.
Resolution changing 2018 budget of the Town of Lake Mills, Wisconsin, adopted by a 2/3 majority vote of the entire membership of the town board. Be it resolved by the town board of the Town of Lake Mills as follows, that the sum of $4,169.80 is hereby transferred from the Public Works non-highway portion of that budget, and $1,259.96 is transferred from the general fund for a total of $5,429.76 to the Culture, Recreation, and Education budget to cover fees for city cable service.
I will make the motion for the transfer.
And I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving budget resolution for transfer from Public Works to Culture, Recreation, and Education, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. The resolution is carried.
Okay, and finally, a resolution changing the 2018 budget of the Town of Lake Mills, Wisconsin, adopted by a 2/3 majority vote of the entire membership of the town board. Be it resolved by the town board of the Town of Lake Mills as follows. Sum of $7.80 is hereby transferred from the general fund to the Health and Human Services budget to cover actual cost of the animal control contract.
And I will motion to approve that.
I will second it.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the transfer from the general fund to Health and Human Services, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. Thank you, Sarah. C, discussion and decision on contracting for accounting work.
This is a total what-if kind of scenario because we don't know who is going to be Supervisor 2. Maybe it'll be somebody with a CPA, who knows. We also don't know what the next clerk may need in terms of help with financial stuff. All I know is what I have been doing, and I've probably spent more time on the accounting part, the side of this job than I should because that's just my wheelhouse. So what I did was just jot down the financial components of this, and some of these things are much easier to do than others. I don't know, with the thought that some of these things are pretty complicated. Some of the grants, the Clean Bowls, Clean Waters is not difficult, but it's not easy. The Form CT is our annual tax return. That's got a lot of accounting ease intertwined in it. A huge underlying issue here that you should be aware of is that QuickBooks is a cash basis product. So, and we have to keep our books on a cash basis. That's what the Form CT looks at as well. Cash comes in, cash goes out in a calendar year. That's it. However, we have a highway budget that gets rolled over, and you can't do fund accounting in a cash basis accounting system like QuickBooks. So you have to have that outside of that. And I've been doing it by a spreadsheet. I don't know what every to each his own. But there's that. There's budget prep and keeping track of the budget is not easy to do in QuickBooks because QuickBooks now, the way that it looks, is kind of mirroring that CT. So the way that we use that internally is a little bit different than then you can just interpret it just by looking at it, if that makes any sense. So this is one of the things that's been bothering me about handing it over to anyone, is that it's just not straightforward. So. Yeah.
That's right. I've worked now for 4 different municipalities, including the state agency and the state accounting office for the Historical Society, and what I've learned is this is a common problem. There's no accounting system that fits a municipality. Most municipalities use QuickBooks in conjunction with spreadsheets. That's very, very typical. The dynamic I've seen most successful for a smaller municipality is the clerk. Yes, you do a lot of the accounting, budgeting things, but you also have an accounting firm that backs that up. So when you're having issues, or if you need to do the rollover at the end of the year, there's journal entries that can be put into QuickBooks in order to get that to function properly. There's 3 or 4 accounting firms that I know of now, a couple of years experience in other areas, that would be great resources for this. I, as an elector and as a candidate, as the town clerk that's going to be coming up, I would request that the board wait until the new candidate is elected to make a decision on this, so you can fit it best to that individual who's elected.
I don't think the intention was to make a decision tonight either, but I wanted to make sure that I asked Sarah to prepare this because she has been very, very key in making sure that our state trust fund loans are managed correctly, that the dates are met, and that the paperwork is in order. And I fear with this whole borrowing, working, creating,
Assessing,
that we're not going to have continuity, and I want to make sure that that happens. I made a suggestion to Sarah that perhaps her services could be used simply for the highway funding. I take Robin's suggestion that there are accounting firms that can help us with this to make sure that we're doing it properly. I think we're in a good place, but I do not want to let any of this fall apart. Keeping Clean Boats, Clean Waters going another year is something we've been tasked with, and that's been a lot of extra work for our clerk. These transportation aids and making sure that all of this is working correctly, that's been a lot of extra work for you. Some of that county highway aid, it's still a miracle to me how it all happens. But someone has to make sure that we have an accountability on all of this. So that was my suggestion. As we go forward, we can discuss this more after the election is over. I thank you for putting that together. Maybe you guys have some thoughts on this that you would like to bring forward, and we'll have another meeting in order to do that. Think about how you'd like to handle this, because I think it's a big job for anybody. Moving on, item D, schedule our spring road tour. We're gonna have an election, we're gonna have, maybe someday we'll be able to see the road. I think we should try to accomplish this in a timely fashion. I do think we're on track with our highway bidding, but I know that we're gonna have a large number of potholes and maybe some water and culvert damage. You guys have got a lot of facts and figures in front of you moving forward into our April meeting. Hope we can make some decisions on what we'd like to do with airport. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have any of those excavation bids tonight. Guess I'll just wait and see what happens. What do you think, David? I'm going to ask you first. What do you think would be a good timing for our
Well, I guess
road tour?
and obviously the earlier in April, the better, but that depends on, you need a settled road bed. So I guess it all comes down to, I'm assuming that Lee's seat is open yet?
There is no nomination paper filed.
Right, okay. So we could either wait to see what happens that day, but the worst trouble is if you have to appoint someone, that's going to be it could be May before you do that.
Yes.
So I don't know.
You're afraid to go with me all alone?
Oh no, there's not enough beer.
Who's gonna drive?
There's not enough beer in Milwaukee that we.
Well, I'd still be serving until you appoint someone, though.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what we're.
Yes,
that's
you're
where I was.
stuck with us.
Where I was going, Lee. How would you feel about going on road tour?
Well, I'd be fine with that. I mean,
Okay.
so you're talking like the,
Somewhere in the week of the 8th? Is that too early, you think?
No, I think that'd be good. Want to shoot for a Saturday, or are you taking the day off, Lee?
oh, I'll take the day off.
Road tour is not exactly a day off of fun, but if that's.
So like,
Did you want to do it on Friday,
Friday
the
the
12th?
12th?
That's the best date.
Okay.
Can't do the 11th, can't do the 9th.
I'm going to start at 8.
Yep.
All right.
12, okay.
I'd appreciate that, Lee. Okay, will you post that, Sarah, please?
That'll be the best. That way.
Good,
It'll
and
get
we need to be flexible. Something comes up, we can be flexible.
Yep.
And it might snow that day, who the heck knows, right?
Hey, my birthday, we had 10 inches of snow.
What's your birthday, Dave?
April 19th. last year.
Ouch.
I'm done.
Okay, item E, discussion of agenda items for the annual meeting of electors.
Anybody have anything?
I'm thinking this ATV thing
Yeah.
ought to be on
That's what
the
I
agenda.
Okay.
I'm going to ask that Daybreak come back and give us a update. And I guess by that time we'll have some road things to talk about, huh?
You mean talking about Airport Road or just other things in general?
Well, that could be the.
Yes, that would be in our
board
regular meeting,
Yeah.
though. We would decide on the road bids and what culverts we're gonna do, if we're gonna do any. I do think that those guys did a real nice job of putting that together.
Yeah, they
You know,
did.
you did see that we do have a whole new crew.
Yes.
Everybody has retired and we are coming around again.
Rob was the only familiar face.
Yeah. So that's been good. I thought all of them put forth a lot of effort. I gave them plenty of time, and I thought that worked out really well. Okay, so anything else that you guys think of that needs to come before the electors of the town? All right, moving on. Item F, discussion of 2019 appointments for town committees and commissions. I solved a few of these problems today. We are still in need of someone to serve on the library board. You know, Dr. Liebenow always did that. Would you?
I would, yes. I would like to, both for the town as well as for the historical society, so maybe kind of dual purpose, but I would love to do that.
The other position that is open is we have a position, and I think that I can talk John right into it. We have a position on the Public Works Board, the City of Lake Mills. And John asked if he could serve. He has served before. He asked if he could serve again, if he could take 2 or 3 months off a year. And I said, yes. I thought that would be okay. They do provide him with a laptop or a iPad, so he could stay in touch, I think. I did ask Mr. Nass today, his term is up on the Planning Commission. He agreed to do another 2 years. Sarah Mushka is up for reappointment in 4/19 too. I have not approached her yet, but I will. Wes and Stan Smaneski, their 2 terms are up in 19, and I think if I ask them sweetly at their next meeting, they will agree to serve. So I think that's a real good start for this year. Kind of gives things some continuity. I appreciate your volunteerism, Robin. I think that would be nice. You'll have to get a hold of the library. You know, that position has not been filled since Dr. Liebenow was here. So,
Monday mornings, I believe at 4:30.
I don't know. We'll have to get a hold of them and see what they have to say. Other than that, I think we're going to make a good transition. Item G, board expense sheet approval. Anybody got expenses? And again, thank you ladies for all your hard work. Oh, wait a minute. Not on our agenda, but something that we had on our agenda last month was the rebidding of our snow contract. And what I did was I put this request for proposals together with a date of May 1 for people to get their snowplow bids in. As I spoke to you earlier, I asked in the item 2 here, I took the old contract that we had with Forrest and took his name out of it and ran it by Lee. I asked in this contract for the next 3 years to establish a program for salt brine application. I have asked that the contractor purchase equipment and software to establish a brining program to be instituted as a preventative practice. And I also stuck with all of the changes that we had in the wages and the liability. Almost everything is exactly the same as it was in our old contract. The purchase of salt is all the same. We're purchasing it directly for the distributor, and the contractor is the agent, and he is empowered to do the purchasing and ordering and the delivery. The salt brine would be purchased from Jefferson County or from another source, and is available at the county shop on Oasis Lane. Those are the only changes that I have made, and I put the request for proposal together to be back to us by 5:00 p.m. on Wednesday, the 1st of May. And so that should give us a good start on seeking a contractor for the next 3 years. You guys don't really need to approve that. I just wanted you to know what I had done and where it's going to go. It will get posted on the website, and it'll be mailed to Forrest and to a couple of other contractors. That's all. Correspondence. There was something. Oh, I know. What did we do with that letter, Matt?
Oh, here.
I just am so excited about that letter, I could cry. Seems that we have received a letter from the Department of Health Services about a certain Frederick Brissett, who will be in supervised release placement in the town of Lake Mills at N6035 Crokeville Road in Waterloo. This is the same house that we have been housing other placements in, and we have been notified.
Does that make 3?
Yes, and I'm assuming that one will soon to be released, but I am assuming we don't know anything more than that.
I haven't heard of anybody being released.
That was correspondence that I received today. I read the Deerfield correspondence. You got some too, Sarah, huh?
Yep.
I got this. This is a group called Construction Business Group. The name Rob Call means something to me. I don't know who he is, but I must have dealt with him somewhere. This is a nonprofit joint labor management organization that monitors construction projects for compliance and assurance of applicable state and federal laws. Nothing's getting any simpler. Go ahead.
All comes down to money. They want to make the money.
This came in the email, a substantially complete issued on a road project from Highway 73 to Highway 89. Just a notification. The DNR, Jefferson County, okay, this is addressed to Jefferson County clerks. We're looking for help spreading the word about Snapshot Wisconsin, which is a statewide effort to engage volunteers and students in monitoring wildlife populations using trail cameras. Participants in the project help collect information used for wildlife management decision support at the DNR. So thought I would bring that forward. Did you want to, this is probably a road tour issue, really, that
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
I got this from the UW Extension saying that they are looking for a copy of our non-discrimination policy. Do you want to deal with that?
Is there anything in the ethics ordinance that we have?
Well, I didn't see anything just at first glance, so.
Isn't it our ethics ordinance?
That's what she just said.
Yeah.
All right, I will check into that a little further, thank you. Due diligence from Dane County Planning and Development, about this time it's Town of Middleton's comprehensive plan. And a Rocker Reflections, not a whole lot of stuff.
Thank you. Anything else to come before us this evening?
Maybe announce for.
Introduce myself, I guess the public comment session.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just like to introduce myself, I know most people in the room here. I'm Robin Nunn, so I'm going to be the town clerk candidate. Who's here. On the April 2nd election. I served the town for 12 years from 2001 until 2013, and I'm currently building a home over on Highway S, owned by the DNR by Dennis Mosky. I've worked now for 4 different municipalities and 3 different counties, and I would love to come back and serve my own community. I think we have a lot of really positive things happening in Jefferson County. With my experience with Dane County and Waukesha County, look forward to serving my home community again. Lots of experience. I think really going into a presidential election in 2020, I think an experienced clerk is going to be very key for a smooth transition for things. I can step into that role and run with it. So I look forward to possibly serving you guys again.
Great, thank you. Meeting scheduled. Oh, did you want to talk about this?
Is that the same house that we've had trouble with
Yes.
before? Okay.
Yes. Seems like things aren't getting any better.
Yeah. I thought they
You
moved.
both had a chance to look at it. We can look at it
Yep.
on road tour.
Do you guys have a sex offender ordinance?
I don't believe
I don't think we have an ordinance.
No, because
We
we,
talked about that when the first one came.
WTA, I think has a same.
Yes, they do. Meeting schedule, April 2nd, spring election, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the town hall. April 2nd will also be the Joint Rock Lake Committee at 6 p.m. Wednesday the 3rd, which is a day late for the Planning Commission due to the election, at 8 p.m. And April 16th, the third Tuesday of April at 7 p.m. is our annual meeting of electors with an 8 p.m. monthly town board meeting to follow. I would motion to adjourn.
I was looking at
The meeting is adjourned.